The next 3 videos you're about to see blew my mind. And today I'm going to be sharing all of the secrets that I think made them a success. You see, I'm Ryan, an editor and creative director for some of the biggest creators on the internet, including Dr. Julie Smith, Daniel Amen, and James Smith. And we currently generate about 3 million views a week. But just because we're doing well doesn't mean we can't do better. And so I started this show. This is where I reverse engineer high-performing content and break down the editing decisions that make it a success. So I can keep learning and you can apply the tricks to your content. Enough yapping, let's get into the first video of today. Video 1. Hallelujah, we're back. It's been a while since I recorded content. I had a baby. If I'm a bit rusty today, I'm getting back into the swing of things. Let's go. Can we talk about the sound effects on this first segment? It's fucking nuts. Wow, this is so crazy. Obviously, first clip is him filmed. This is an invert video effect. So if you're in Premiere, like I do, you just select the invert effect, throw that on top, and what it does is it flips all the colors. So it makes blue, orange, black, white, etc, etc. That is going to create this flashing effect, which ultimately feels a little bit like a glitch or a transition that you're able to sell. Then in the new shot, which is this one, he's also got the invert effect on, exactly 1 frame to aid the glitch effect through, after which we cut back to the normal and bring the color back in. Then we go on to a collection of insanely fast but sick shots, including not limited to this one. After a collection of crazy shots, we go into this shot here. By the looks of it, just a character. It could be that he shot himself in this position and then just has, in essence, the alpha layer of it so that it's just showing the black outline of his body. It could also be that this is just a character he's found that he's placed smartly. Then we've got textures going over the top. This is probably some sort of like grunge paper effect that you see a little bit here. So you see this like texturized overlay here with a shadow and then more shadows coming in here and switching here. This is probably like a grunge texture effect. If you look that up, you should find a couple that you could overlay. And then we're getting into something cool, which is the tracking overlay. And I've been seeing a lot of these overlay packs being made. I know that you can hand make a lot of these in something like After Effects. If you don't have the time for that, you can also look for packs, which in essence just sell them. And you can just drag and drop them on top as an additional overlay. And if you're in this like cinematic, techie space, I've been seeing it being used a lot lately, then it's a cool effect to add. It does look like, by the way that it slightly moves, it could be a video, but it's more likely just a character that is slightly animated, because I think it's just the hand that moves. Then this insane effect here. Here we go back to using more tricks that we've already seen before, right? The subtle zoom in from here to here and bringing back in the tracking overlays. Here doing a glow effect, here the alpha layer showing, and then here continuing on the effects that we saw at the beginning. This is important to create consistency in your videos. So now here we've got the inverted effect again. Here's what I'd probably do. I take the shot of this. It's gonna be, if you imagine the original image, just an outline of the face. You're gonna drag that into a tool like Higgs field, and you probably give it a prompt in the area of outline, or turn this picture of my face into an X-ray style image showing only blue and white highlight. It could be that you manipulate this entirely with color grading, pushing only the blues, and he has a slight bit of chromatic aberration on the ear here, where you can tell by the like red, green, blue effect with a slight blur on it. The Premiere Blur update has this built into it, which is kind of a nice addition. Allows you to get this like slight, almost glitchy effect to it. It's very cool. If you don't have that in your Premiere, you should probably update it. The sound effects on this are the best. Crazy. How would you go about creating this shot? This is the slate shot. In essence, this is the base layer that was filmed. And then you need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different videos on top. You run in different angles. So in essence, you're running away from your original shot. Film those at high frame rates so that you can slow them down without it looking choppy when you slow something down. When your frame rate isn't high enough and you're slowing footage down, you in essence don't have enough pictures to highlight, to give yourself yourself enough of the space to slow down stuff accurately. I'll admit with some AI tools these days, it's getting better and better, but if you want to do this perfectly, you need to film at a high frame rate so that you give yourself the option or the space to slow down things accurately. Then you rotoscope each individual layer out, place them around your slate layer, and then on each rotoscope layer, you on top add this chromatic aberration to get these shifting colors, as I just discussed. Definitely has added a bit of blur additionally to it. What is also cool is that as he fades them in, he's done this like slight displacement in the flare. I think that you do this with the gamma. You can keyframe that in. When you have chromatic aberration as a preset on this, there is a button within the chromatic aberration that allows you to keyframe the gamma, which is like the whiteness that you see here coming through. When you keyframe those, you should be able to create this like slight displacement here and then add the blur in afterwards to also kind of throw it off. Could also be that the shutter speed was quite high when filming this, so shutter speed combined with a high frame rate to ultimately create this like natural blur already on the video. Honestly, the most important thing here is the sound effects. People underestimate that so much, what difference that makes. So for this shot, this was also a sick shot and is relatively easy to do. Again, you're going to need the base shot similar to this one of you running. Again, filmed at a high frame rate so that you can slow down. It could again also be that you used AI to do the ultra slowdown, which is even slower than when you would film something on a camera. Next, you're going to need yourself, you could either do 6 different angles or you film like 2 and you rotate some of them. But in essence, what you need is to give yourself somewhere where you can lie down, ideally done on a green screen so that you have a clear cut. But if you have somewhere on a plain background where you can position a box or something you can lay on underneath your back, that way you should give yourself the space to do this leaning back thing. And then it's just about changing your layer to an alpha layer so that it only shows the white glow, and sell it again with adding this bit of Gaussian blur to it so that it's more of a dreamy feel rather than just a clear glow, if that makes sense. This texturized effect looks fucking sick. Well, where that one was a decent amount of guessing, I think I'm a bit more confident on the next one. It is, however, quite a lot longer, so let's hope I don't yap on too much. Let's go.
Mike Tyson held the record for being undefeated for almost half a decade, but then Buster Douglas happened. Round 10 at Tokyo Dome. Douglas threw a 4-punch combo so hard that it sent Tyson flying to the canvas for the first time in his life, making the biggest upset in boxing history. But every great upset has a story. And this one started 23 days before the fight, with the death of Douglas's mother, February 10, 1990, Columbus, Ohio. Douglas was in the hospital room watching his mother take her last breath. Just 3 weeks later, he was supposed to fight the most dangerous man on the planet. His trainer asked him if he wanted to pull out, but Douglas just stared at the contract. His mother had always believed he'd be champion, and now she was gone. At that moment, Douglas signed it, not for himself, but for her, agreeing to the biggest mismatch in boxing history. At round 8, Tyson hit him so hard that the whole world thought it was over, but Douglas pulled himself up, and 2 rounds later, he landed an uppercut so vicious it launched Tyson's head straight back. And before Tyson could even recover, Douglas landed 3 more, and for the first time in boxing history, Tyson hit the canvas. The man who lost his mother 23 days before the fight became the man who ended an era. Douglas's mother never got to see him win, but she was the only reason he did.
So this video is by Metro Media, and in case you haven't been following them, you should go check them out. Their storytelling on some of these videos, including the Michael Jackson one and the guy that plays Steve in Stranger Things, Joe Carey video I covered actually in a couple of episodes back, are insane. They are so good. Let's start with this intro.
Mike Tyson held...
It's quite similar to some of the stuff I explained in previous ones. The texturized layer you see here on top is called halftone or semitone or different tones. This little dotted effect that you see, and there's a few different ways you could go about creating this. Sometimes just looking up textured layers that you can drag on top works really well, and then it's just about making it work either through blending modes or playing with the opacity. It depends a little on the type of layer you have, but that's going to create this little dotted effect on top, and texturized. And the reason why that is important is because it takes videos, if you do this well, from looking as a string of random videos, and because of the texture layer on top consistently, it brings everything together to ultimately make it feel cohesive.
Mike Tyson held...
How do you do this? It's the same as what I explained in the previous video. You duplicate the layer, you crop obviously to the outside of his head as it is here. Don't change the position of the layer, just make sure it's the same, but just crop it and then throw an invert on that layer. This is going to make it flash separately, and that way when you do it combined with the sound effects and into the new frame, it makes it feel like a glitch. So ultimately we process it as a transition.
Held the record.
As we see here on top, there's also a texturized layer. It's not just the original footage. Highlights my point about making videos feel cohesive.
For being undefeated for almost...
This shot is fucking sick. So this is a couple different layers, obviously. The fact that this is in red somehow highlights how strong Mike Tyson was, positions him within the concept of this whole story now that we've seen it. This red color helps highlight how much of a badass. He's the evil, the baddie, right? The red color we associate with the bad person, the devil, the whatever. We've been programmed to think this, and although that seems like minuscule details to pay attention to, those are the details that often take a video from being good to great.
But then,
in terms of design, it takes a lot of time to design something like this. You could design this in Canva. You can also design this in After Effects if you understand how to use After Effects. I personally like to do it in Canva because I feel like it's just a bit simpler. To get this particular transition, to do it this way, you need Mike Tyson image on a separate layer, and you need the background stuff on a separate layer, and then you basically keyframe them individually to move as the camera moves. Could you spend some time, learn After Effects, understand depth of field and 3D camera, how that works? It's probably easier, and you probably should do it. I probably should do it, but I've just gotten used to doing it my way, that's how I would recreate it.
But then, Buster Douglas happened.
Again, texturized layer, glitch effect, consistency in the video. This is what makes them stand out. Don't just do something because you can, do something because it feels cohesive and on brand and the tone of voice that is required for the video as a whole. People underestimate that.
Round 10 at Tokyo Dome.
The movement here, taking the cameras moving this way, making sure that round 10 moves the same way before it starts moving up, and then when we bring in the next image, doing the same thing, making it move up. These subtle movements, even if it's only a couple of keyframes, make your video feel less choppy and ultimately more pleasing to watch. Slight detail here. How would you get something like that? First of all, you need something to hide behind. In Premiere, you can now do it natively. Rotoscope dome out as an additional layer. Drag it on top of your text layer so that dome gets hidden behind this rotoscope layer. If you don't have it natively in Premiere, I don't know about the other editing tools, you can do this with external tools such as Runway ML, bear in mind, or even in Canva with background remover. Bear in mind that it costs money.
Douglas threw a 4-punch.
We're still continuing with the texturized layer. I've said it a bunch of times by now, but bear in mind the importance of that. Also, this little box here is called a cinematic border. If you Google those, you'll find a bunch of them. There are also Super 8 borders which you can use, which is more if you're into like a vintage feel that you're trying to sell. You can also just create this manually and then add a slight chromatic aberration to the video layer, or put on your border, put a slight Gaussian blur, nothing too heavy, that will make the borders feel less harsh and soften them a little. And if you then add the chromatic aberration in, it will create this like slight red glow of your border.
Combo so hard that it sent Tyson flying to the canvas for the first time in his life, making the biggest upset in boxing history.
Also, sick font that was used. Something that is also underestimated into making typography look great is the kerning, which is the spacing between letters. So you'll see that here it's quite tight, and especially when you have these bold fonts, same as here, there's not a lot of space in between. You'll find that when you make these tight, it'll look more impactful versus when they're far apart. Cool.
But every great upset has a story. And this one started 23 days before the fight, with the death of Douglas's mother.
So this shot is also crazy good, so well designed. What you can do here, find a Polaroid frame in Canva that already has a natural shadow, bring in the image, in this case of Douglas's mother, add the texturized halftone layer in again for brand consistency across the videos. You'll see that even here, there's a slight layer still on top, which again, although we've come into a completely new style, still makes everything feel cohesive. And then you can do this in Canva, you can also make it yourself, whatever.
February.
You'll see that the tapes on top also sell it. And final point that sells this, that makes it feel real rather than, is the shadow. This. Personally, one thing that I would have done differently is have the image here already and fold the corner. The reason why is the tape that is on there. If you were to imagine a Polaroid in real life with tape on it and you slide it, it would stick to the canvas. It wouldn't move. And so it feels a bit counterintuitive to see a sliding Polaroid have tape on it when it should technically be taped down. That's no criticism. These guys make crazy stuff. It's just something I personally would do differently. Let me know if you disagree.
His mother, February 10th, 1990.
Also the subtle detail of having this here. You're preparing the mind here because you're kind of questioning yourself, why is this here? And then through movement of the camera, bringing it to our attention and showing that's why it's there. So cool.
Columbus, Ohio. Douglas was in the hospital room watching his mother take her last breath. Just 3 weeks later, he was supposed to fight the most dangerous man on the planet. His trainer asked him if he wanted to pull out, but
also notice the shift in pacing here when he's chosen to use a different song. We've gone from
combo so hard that it sent Tyson flying to the canvas for the first time in his life, making the biggest upset in boxing history. But every great upset has a story. And
using really fast-paced music and then clearly announcing a transition here. It has a story that's a clear key word or transition for we need to talk about something else. And
this one started 23 days before the fight.
A completely different type of music, which ultimately sets a very different tone within the video. Now, this video is 1 minute 10 long, and yet we have the time and the space to change the music and give the video a completely new feel. So don't think that just because you have 1 minute or even 45 seconds of a video that you can't play with the music, or that you can't change the pacing of a video, because sometimes I see too often that videos are constantly the same. They're very static, either because they don't think they have enough time to tell a story or because they don't want to throw the viewer off. Fast forwarding a little. Also this background here, this like texturized background, crazy good.
He was supposed to fight the most dangerous man on the planet. His trainer asked him if he wanted to pull out, but Douglas just stared at the contract. His mother had always believed he'd be champion, and now she was gone. At that moment, Douglas signed it, not for himself, but for her, agreeing to the biggest mismatch in boxing history. At round 8, Tyson hit him so hard that the whole world thought it was over, but Douglas
fantastically in this storytelling segment of the reel is they understand that a story is not linear. It's not, I started here, I fought Tyson, I won. Instead, what they do is, through means of storytelling, make it seem as if he's about to lose, to bring back the interest, because otherwise if it's just a linear line, we don't care enough. The stakes aren't high enough. And so telling the story that in round 8 it looked like he was about to lose, we connect to the person and feel like, oh, what if he doesn't win this, but ultimately brings back the hero arc by showing that he does win, and that makes us care more. And so this entire video we've been working to position Tyson as the bad guy, even though Tyson's a legend, and Buster Douglas as our protagonist. And the whole time we've been giving details to set the stakes. His mom died. That's a massive stake as to get you invested as the listener and to care for him, because we feel sad that his mom died, and because his mom died, because his mom wanted it, we want him to win. And so that's how we set up a story. That's how we make you care, by setting the stakes to ultimately make you root for Buster, even if you know the outcome. There's a reason why things like documentaries like Welcome to Wrexham, which has been awarded several different awards, and it's just fantastic to watch why still people watch this, even when they know Wrexham won the league 3 years in a row, because of the storytelling aspects and everything that you see behind the scenes that ultimately make you invested in the show. And I think when you start looking at stories this way and break down how they work, you start having more respect or start caring more about how to build a strong story.
Himself up, and 2 rounds later, he landed an uppercut so vicious it launched Tyson's head straight back. And before Tyson could even recover, Douglas landed added 3 more, and for the first time in boxing history, Tyson hit the canvas. The man who lost his mother 23 days before the fight became the man who ended an era. Douglas's mother never got to see him win, but she was the only reason he did.
Man, these guys at Metro Media, I don't know who their editor is, but it's fucking sick. And with that being said, we've come to the last video of today. This one is also short, but is full of sick videos. The guy actually says in the description here that he's used AI on a lot of things, so I'm going to guess my best on what the prompt that looks like. But just in case, I'm gonna also try break down how you would create something like this, even if you don't want to use AI. Let's go. Let's talk about the sound effect on this. So good. So fucking good, dude. This is insane, man. Okay, let's start with this first shot. This is fucking crazy. So for something like this, you're going to need outline on a wall. You could create this through means of a light, have a light shine brightly onto a very dark wall through means of a cone. You could also just have a color mat and create the frame yourself, right? I've seen the John, who's a legend at the AI when it comes to this style. He actually puts in the prompt and adds in a reference image of what he wants it to look like. So it depends a little on what you want. In order to get you as a black outline though, you need to overpower your camera with the light source from the front, because so right now I'm being lit from the side, which is why you can see me. If the light is coming this way from behind me and overpowering the camera, only focus on my outline. This part is still doable without AI. You're going to need to replicate a couple of layers. You could do them as color mats, set the opacity to about 40 to 60% and let the background shine through. And some you might switch up. So this yellow color mat might be full, not letting anything through from the back, whereas this one looks like it could be 20%. You could also duplicate the layer and try do it with color grading, depending upon what stylistic look and feel you want. But then you just have these layers on top and you crop them, right? So you don't need to make an individual shape and then position it. You can just duplicate the layer, crop it, then it has the same effect when the head is moving rather than you needing to change the shape. The prompts that go into something like this is scary, man. Desaturate on the base layer and then throw the invert preset on top. You might actually get it to do this. What you need is images of a bunch of different stuff. For consistency, you want to bring the red back in. I don't even know what this is, but I think it's a radio. A radio, and then some sort of formula. Okay, a camera. I imagine the prompt would be something like, give me a spec or turn this image into a spec analysis breakdown of products. Something like this, showing measurements and details. And then you just need to repeat that and using them. And then this would be the base image. You throw the invert preset on, that's going to create this glitch effect that we already have a lot of so far. Then this one we've also covered today already. This one does seem like it's created with AI, but you could recreate this without needing to do it with AI. First of all, with 2 windmills, and then you need to film them at this angle. And then what you're gonna want to do is rotate this base one, opacity filter, and then have a strong feather on it so that the clips kind of merge over into each other, which is why this bit here would be cut off. It's gonna take some clever placement. I'm not sure if it would work entirely, but that's how I would go about trying to create something like this, if you don't want to do it with AI at least. And then you're going to need to record yourself falling or jumping, ideally on some sort of plain background that you can keyframe the background out of, rotoscope, and then it's just about positioning yourself in. I love this effect as well. I could imagine you could recreate something like this by duplicating the layer of just the body, so having in essence it rotoscoped, slightly moving it. Change the position of that layer, so slightly to the right, and in the next frame back, and then slightly to the left, and then next frame back, and then to the left, and then the next frame. You get the point, to create the shake without needing to manipulate that, you know, the background is removed, etc. That's going to create this, because the background is just static, nothing is changing there. Here the hand is moving. But here I think it's the same story. These layers are then maybe duplicated with a super high blur on it. So throw a Gaussian blur on top and then just change the positioning of it. That's how you could probably create this shake. But that's how I would go about if I didn't want to use AI. Okay, that was another week. I'm definitely getting back into the swing of things. This is not my new office. As said, I've just had a baby, so I'm at my in-laws, but I want to remain consistent. It's one of my main goals for this year. When it comes to making this stuff, it keeps me learning, exciting, and hopefully it helps you at least to some degree. If it did, consider smashing the subscribe button. It helps more than you know. Honestly, it helps to build the channel, and hopefully someday I finally earn some money from doing this. With that being said, I'll see ya in the next one. Bye.